It's actually going.
Are we alive?
Yep, you are live.
Live.
Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We are your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is September 6th, 2017. So obviously the very first thing we are going to bring you is Irma. Irma, man, she is a beast out there.
Literally
She's coming in like with a vengeance. It's crazy.
Right, so if you guys are just joining us, you're gonna be in for the, I'm not gonna say a treat because...
It's not a treat. I mean, this is wild. If this thing hits the United States, which it's kind of, it's like 90, in my opinion, with the trajectories that we're looking at, it's like 95% chance that it's gonna hit somewhere in the United States.
99.99.
I mean, it's gonna hit something. Yeah. We're gonna feel it.
I wanted to give...
For sure.
Yeah, so, as you guys are coming in,
and I'm getting you there,
I love that you guys get these notifications and, like, show up.
It's so awesome.
The people who come later are going to have to rewind or watch it over because some of these videos that I'm going to show you and some of these pictures.
Oh, my God. They will blow your mind.
This is just the beginning.
Hopefully, some land masses will slow this thing down, but unfortunately, the trajectory that it's on, it's not really going to hit very many little tiny islands. But not like a land mass.
Yeah, so if it went over more Puerto Rico and Cuba, the land masses and
but then it would be destroying Puerto Rico and Cuba. So it's going to destroy something.
So, but yeah, the projections are having it kind of actually scoot right past Puerto Rico and Cuba, which will keep it strong at a Category 5. It is now the largest hurricane ever in the Atlantic.
I had a lot of people correct me when I went live yesterday by myself when I had said it's going to become a Category 6, and everybody's like, Michelle, there's no Category 6, and I'm like, I know. I know. They are talking about creating a Category 6 if necessary for this thing. It's kind of like when you're driving a stick shift, it just goes into fifth. You hit fifth in my Jeep at like 55 miles an hour, and anything above that, all the way up to 100 and something, you're in fifth gear.
They have theoretical categories.
Yeah, they're talking about putting kind of a cap on that. Okay, well then this means, you know, Category 6 or whatever.
Right. Look at this. Okay, this is put it in perspective. This is Indiana, the outline of Indiana.
Oh my God.
It is now... It's actually bigger than the state of Ohio. It's bigger than Indiana here.
I heard somewhere it was bigger than France.
I guess Florida is like 400 miles from tip to tip. It's now stretches bigger than the entire state of Florida. Oh my gosh. This thing is huge. It's absolutely huge. The devastation and the rain and the flooding that it's going to bring. It is wiped out the entire little island of Barbados?
No, it's not Barbados. It's Burr something.
Bob! I thought I had it all in my head.
Dang it! Here, click away that.
I know. Well, I'm gonna get to the bottom of it.
Hang on a minute. While we're talking about Irma, every single time I drink out of this cup, I get a comment. Thank you, Justin, for commenting on the size of my cup. I always get comments on it. Listen, this is the greatest cup that was ever invented. If you guys are still drinking out of plastic, shame on you. You need to be drinking out of glass or steel or ceramic or something.
Okay, so the one of the first land masses that it hit was
Barbuda.
That's what I was saying.
Barbuda.
St. Martin. Now, from what I understand,
aren't those like wealthy, ritzy, kind of like snooty people?
St. Martin.
Okay, hang on. Watch this.
Has been destroyed. Barbuda has been destroyed almost completely. Their reactions.
That's what I'm laughing at. Hopefully nobody was in that building, and I'm sorry that people lost their ritzy stuff, but I'm sorry. Dang. Wow. I mean, we would be screaming just like that. I think you all would too.
Wow.
It's not funny. I should not laugh. But St. Martin's, is, from what I understand, is kind of ritzyville, and I don't really feel that bad for those people as long as they're alive and safe.
Hurricane Irma could now be bigger than Harvey and Katrina.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It's as of Wednesday morning, it has had sustained wind gusts of 180 miles an hour. Wind speeds. It hit St. Martin with wind gusts of 225 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Harvey's maximum winds were 130.
What happens to you if a car hits you at like 30 miles an hour?
Irma's a Category 5. Harvey was a Category 4. Katrina was a Category 3.
When it made landfall in August of 2005.
Irma is 400 miles wide.
Oh my gosh.
Harvey was 200 miles wide. Katrina was 350 miles wide. Irma has a 5.3 rating on a scale of 1 to 10 on the cyclone damage. I didn't know there was such a thing. Harvey is 5.2. Katrina was a 4.9.
At landfall.
So Irma has already caused major damage in the Caribbean. We're going to show you some video that has come through.
Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina have declared states of emergency. Thank God. And I hope that these people, that anybody, here's the thing. We were looking at the trajectory, and Leah's like, look, one possible path has it coming to Ohio. Obviously, by the time it gets to Ohio, like Harvey, it's nothing but rain. But rain. I mean, it's still a big deal.
Right.
But my point is, if you guys are in a possible path and you have family somewhere else, go. Like, just go. It's not worth it.
Right. Yeah.
Let me get some volume here. Of the enormous damage Hurricane Irma caused to the Caribbean island of Barbuda. The Prime Minister says 95% of the properties on the island suffered some kind of damage. In the Prime Minister's words, Barbuda is barely habitable. The core of this extremely dangerous storm will be passing Puerto Rico over the next few hours. Our anchor, George Howell, is in San Juan for us. So, George, what are the conditions there now?
It's so funny that they send these guys, these weather people, right?
We were in a lull, but,
like,
quite frankly,
has anybody ever died?
Strong wind bursts hit again. We're
irresponsible
about 50 miles to the south of that eye wall. That eye wall, again, is where the strongest winds, the strongest storms are churning. So, again, the concern is the closer we get to that, and over the night we will get closer and closer to it, the stronger those wind gusts.
I mean, it's going to hit the Dominican Republic.
Meteorologists over the next 3 hours.
But the question is, will the center hit? And it's kind of not hitting.
I've never felt wind gusts as strong as I've felt with this particular storm. They hit real quick. They're strong enough to knock you over. And that's the concern here for people that are in the direct path of this storm. If you get anything from what we're telling you, from what we're experiencing here in Puerto Rico, take cover. Yep.
Take cover. Come on. Some of this stuff is just
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Britt Baza had asked if we have an act of God premium on our insurance here in the United States. We don't have a premium for an act of God, but we do have like the insurance companies as far as what they will pay out and what they won't pay out for acts of God.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Now look at this. This is some sort of aeronautics, heroics, maybe stupidity.
Airplane.
RT pointed this out, that a Delta flight left New York for Puerto Rico to do a round-trip flight during the hurricane. The only flight going in and out. Everyone else canceled. I wanted you to see this picture, and he literally, the Delta pilot, found the one opening during the hurricane and flew through it.
But why?
But I guess there's dudes who track these things, and they were tweeting out as this flight happened. A Delta Airlines flight from New York to Puerto Rico may go down in online folklore as one of the bravest or foolhardiest pieces of piloting after the crew competed with a Category 5 hurricane to complete their scheduled return flight. Flight Delta 431 departed New York's JFK Airport at 8:39 local time, right as Irma was beginning to eclipse Puerto Rico on flight and satellite radar imagery. One American Airlines flight and two JetBlue planes had already decided to play it safe and turn around rather than fly into the Category 5 monster. While wind speeds at San Juan Airport had yet to reach those speeds, the landing would still be tricky. So there was a running commentary online that made for a very compelling read. There's people who tweet things out. You really want to fly into San Juan Airport during Category 5 hurricane? Delta 431? Everyone else has turned around. Someone else says, this is your captain speaking. Do you guys want to go see something cool?
Sorry.
So here we have everyone else canceling, right? And the Delta open. Delta 431 going back to New York as Delta 302. Everything else out of San Juan is canceled. Delta, are you mad?
Yes.
Come on, Delta 431, we're pulling for you. The Delta crew were so confident in their abilities that they even bumped the return flight's departure time up 25 minutes. Delta 431 is supposed to land at San Juan in 20 minutes. Why? And then somebody says, in scenes more reminiscent of a racetrack than a runway, the Delta flight landed, taxied in, disembarked, and loaded up once more before taking off in just 52 minutes. And somebody kind of put this up there. This is how Delta 431 came into the gate at San Juan.
All right, so it is very foolhardy, but at the same time, I can understand and sympathize with the bravery aspect
of wanting to get people out.
Right.
Out. So this flight radar map shows the pilot even managed to navigate through the relatively clear air between the choppy outer band of the storm system and the center.
Oh my gosh.
This is not a flight I would have taken. I would have found a
shelter.
Basement.
Yeah.
I would have not
a basement, buddy.
I would have found something. Anything.
Basements flood.
I don't care. I would have found something. I don't know. When winds are coming, you know, find a basement because then your roof gets torn off.
Okay, well, yeah. But then after that, you got to get to high ground.
So now Delta 302 has to climb out of San Juan. And they're doing so between the outer band of Irma and the core of the storm. Amazing stuff. The story quickly became an internet sensation. And the memes took off online almost as quickly as the flight did from the tarmac. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. Watching Delta 431 be like, passengers boarding. Be like,
Jumanji.
Her, and then that was another one stupid. Haters gonna hate. And then when it landed, dispatcher after flight came safely out.
Wow.
And I think that my meme's not playing. Obviously, cheering going on. So that was.
So they made it.
Some
safe
heroics
and
there. Yes.
I bet that pilot's wife or husband, whatever, is probably very happy that they are.
This is the Barbuda airport, and if Delta had flown into Barbuda, they would be
Barbudist.
Nixed. Yes. I have some video of some of the winds, and it's just intense. Seriously intense. Oh, Rand Paul never got a guy to sit in the back seat and to not offer sound money solutions even in the midst of a crisis. Rand Paul used foreign aid fund Harvey and Irma relief for FEMA. He is unveiling a blueprint to divert unspent foreign aid to cover hurricane relief and cleanup costs in America First proposal to spend U.S. taxpayer money where it's needed most. Republican Paul, who has in the past targeted billions of tax dollars ships to anti-American nations like Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, is eyeing an amendment to the proposed package to raise the debt ceiling and fund Hurricane Harvey relief. As the senator prepares to vote on hurricane aid, I will be introducing an American First Amendment to cut wasteful spending from abroad to pay for much-needed relief here at home. Moving forward, any new spending should be paid for. And I say hear, hear, cheers, and absolutely resoundingly yes. Why in the world are we sending aid money to Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and countries where they kill gays? You can't have a driver's license. Women can't leave the country with their own passport. Human rights are non-existent, pretty much. So, all right, here's some video. This is from the Ritz-Carlton of St. Thomas. It's intense, dude.
It's crazy. I mean, it's like, ridiculous.
Seriously intense. And like Kansas was pointing out, tornadoes like go through pretty quickly.
But a hurricane hovers.
Exactly.
It stays for a really long time. I want to get to some of the comments because for those of us that do not live on the coast and are not familiar with hurricanes, they were pointing out that when I talked about it hitting the Dominican Republic, that the east winds are actually the worst. So
and, it's actually making landfall right now, the part of it that it will make landfall in Puerto Rico. And this is a video out of Puerto Rico with a power line down. Now, wait for it because the transformer.
Oh, this is awful. Yeah, I saw this earlier. I kind of wonder in these situations, can't we just turn the power off? Because you know these lines are going to fall. You know explosion. Just turn it off for a second. For a couple days. Oh, dang. No.
You have to see that again. Ready? What you were saying?
Somebody corrected me on something. Secretarian says hurricanes rotate counterclockwise, Michelle. So I was doing that incorrectly.
You're doing it backwards. Actually, were you doing it correctly for them or correctly for you?
I don't know. I was trying to do it. No, I was trying to do it incorrectly. For sure. I'll take that one. I know I was doing clockwise on purpose. I'm honest to a fault.
Crazy. Hi, baby.
We've been in a hurricane. Which hurricane was that? A long time ago.
Mom, do you even remember what that hurricane was?
It was a Category 2.
Control bathroom window.
It was in 2003.
Isabel.
Thank you.
This is just a little piece of what's going on.
And we were on the coast of a Category 2.
We were on a bicycle trip, and so some stranger offered us shelter in their mom's home.
We have some pictures of us outside in the.
We should pull those up.
In our little ponchos.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this.
Just pray for us.
It was fast, but it wasn't like this. It was cool leaning against it, but it was. Okay, so I'm gonna take you after I take you through a couple more of these. We're gonna go to this Dane Wigington geoengineering. Now, many people.
Let's get to the nitty gritty because I know all of y'all are really excited. You want us to talk about geoengineering, cloud seeding, HARP, you name it. And listen, I'm there with you. I don't know all the details, guys. I'm not a scientist. But something tells me that there's something not right here. This seems too powerful, too much. It's growing too fast, too big. And I know these people. I mean, I don't know.
There was one more video I want to show you, but maybe you guys have all seen it. It's like the one video everybody keeps showing. It's pretty powerful, actually. What is that? I'm going to have you guys are going to see all my little links here. Was it this one? Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Go ahead. Play that.
So I believe this is St. Martin. This one was the most powerful that I have seen. It's shocking to the system, actually, to even see such power and to hear such noise. It's intense. Looking at your comments over here. This video here is just mind-boggling. This is the most intense. Whoever got this got I think this is St. Martin. This was the 185 mile an hour with a 250 mile an hour wind gust.
And I've heard that.
Look at everything just.
Somebody was saying, they're blaming this on Trump. They are. They're always trying to blame. Somebody had said what was that thing that was shared by Brian about where it's going to land is there's so many percent Cubans and Hispanics and all this stuff, and it's Trump's way of trying to take out those people. That's what Trump's trying to do.
They're also saying that that Jose is not going to hit land, and Trump has decided that because it's a Hispanic name that he won't let it.
Stop it.
No, Jose. You're not come to America. Oh my God. No, Jose.
Oh my gosh. No way, Jose.
No way, Jose. We only accept Irmas around here to destroy people. We don't want the Hispanic Mexicans here so much.
Stop
we
it.
don't even want the hurricanes.
Stop it. Oh my gosh.
We were so not politically correct. That was a joke, by the way.
Do you want me to go to this now?
Sure. We're gonna let's go to Dane Wigington. I have to tell you guys, when I listen to the stuff on the weather manipulation, I'm not like 100% convinced on all points. I will tell you when I am convinced about, because we are here. We don't lean left, we don't lean right, we lean on the Word of God. We also say it's not a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. So when we bring you something that we aren't fully like, we haven't researched in and out and in and out. If you want to talk, I will talk to you about the public school system. I probably know more about
the Federal Reserve,
than most people. When it comes to the geoengineering and the chemtrails, I know they exist. I can tell you that my garden won't grow because of
cloud seeding.
The cloud seeding, and I don't know all the scientific reasons for it. I just can feel it. I know what's happening when all of my gardening friends are saying, we can't grow things.
Simple, basic things like tomatoes, and it's year after year after year. It was a terrible year for tomatoes. It was a terrible year for green beans. Green beans put nitrogen back into the soil.
Right.
They should grow regardless. I mean, green beans are the easiest things to grow.
The only things that grow are those grown in large factory type farms with fertilizers.
And in greenhouses, where they're kind of protected.
Yeah, a lot of times in greenhouses where they're protected. Even our great Mennonite Amish family, they grow two types. They have the organic for us, and they have the stuff that they send to the grocery stores. And their stuff they send to the grocery stores, the watermelons are huge, but they use fertilizers and things like that. The stuff that they grow organically are small and just not, they're not thriving.
What they could be and what they, I have heard stories, we've never done watermelon successfully. But I have talked to farmers that when they were kids, they would say, we had watermelons and they were bigger than at the store with all organic, just homegrown fertilizer.
You can't grow organic in America today because of all of the Roundup. I mean, this is why somebody asked, how long does glyphosate stay around? Because they keep spraying it, it's perpetual. It doesn't even matter if you spray your lawn and then you think, well, it's gone 5 years later. Everyone is spraying it. Everyone is putting weed and feed down, and that goes in everyone's water, and it goes up, and it comes down, and it goes through the streams.
So even if you don't believe in the chemtrails and the cloud seeding, that aspect is...
Exactly. So we're talking about weather manipulation, and Dane talks about the fact that they have been using weather warfare for decades. And yes, they can actually create hurricanes.
Right.
They can stop hurricanes, and they can manipulate hurricanes. And he also makes some rather interesting points where he says that we haven't had any major hurricanes during the Obama administration make landfall. And suddenly now under Trump...
Many ask why the government, our own government, would modify the weather in a way that does immense harm to our own citizens and to the life support systems of the planet as a whole. And without doing any investigative research whatsoever, many choose to completely deny that climate modification could be real and ongoing, with many potential objectives and agendas being carried out in what can only be considered programs of weather and biological warfare. The U.S. government and the U.S. military have been fully involved in not just weather modification, but hurricane modification for at least 70 years. Project Cirrus was underway 70 years ago. With only 80 kilograms of dry ice, profound manipulation of a hurricane was achieved. How much more effectively can the weather makers now manipulate hurricanes when they have the air power to dump hundreds of tons of patented materials into such storms? The historical document shown here is for Project Storm Fury, which was historically a part of the ongoing and expanding U.S. government and U.S. military hurricane manipulation programs. One of the crews and aircraft of Project Storm Fury is shown here, a U.S. military hurricane manipulation project and program. It's important to remember that the fully documented weather warfare was already going on by the Vietnam War with Project Popeye, which created catastrophic and continuous flooding over the Ho Chi Minh Trail. This document excerpt was taken from a 750-page U.S. Senate report that was produced in 1977. The document's extremely damning and can be reviewed in its entirety on geoengineeringwatch.org by simply searching Geoengineering Watch Massive Senate Document. Geoengineeringwatch.org was the original source that found and posted this report. The yellow highlights in the page excerpts are ours. This document and countless others prove beyond doubt that the U.S. government and U.S. military programs of climate and hurricane manipulation were real, ongoing, and rapidly expanding. This U.S. government document outlining the need for global governance of climate engineering is just one more of many. The active involvement of the U.S. government and military in ongoing climate engineering operations is absolutely undeniable. This is an example of one hurricane suppression patent. And though this information is available to the public, there are likely many more processes of hurricane suppression and manipulation that are considered classified. This excerpt from a scientific study on cyclone suppression is very important to consider. The red highlighted statements are key. The report states that when tropical cyclones are saturated with aerosols, the intensity is reduced, the flow of energy from warming oceans is reduced, and the winds weaken. Now let's consider this. How can atmospheric aerosols be widely dispersed? In addition to the use of military tanker jets for atmospheric aerosol spraying, retrofit aerosol spraying nozzles have been mounted on many commercial carrier aircraft and are being utilized. These nozzles are aimed directly into the exhaust jet stream in order to enforce the completely false official narrative that we're only seeing condensation trails, when in fact we're seeing sprayed aerosol dispersions. Available data indicates commercial carrier personnel are not directly involved with the climate engineering programs, though these aircraft are absolutely being used. Aerosol dispersions over the oceans are now constant and blatant. This photo shows the Eastern Pacific and clearly reveals aerosol spraying activity. The vast majority of populations have absolutely no idea that the ongoing Global Climate Engineering Manhattan Project is tearing the climate and life support systems of the planet apart. The toxic heavy metal and chemical aerosols are also contaminating our breathable air column and the entire biosphere as a whole. How can aerosols and radio frequency microwave transmissions impact the formation of hurricanes? This NASA satellite image is very revealing. The image was taken off the west coast of Africa, a primary location where Atlantic hurricanes form. The manipulation of the tropical cyclone formation region is extremely alarming and undeniable. Radio frequency microwave transmissions manipulate the electrically conductive heavy metal nanoparticulates that have been seeded into the atmosphere in the cloud formations. The manipulation of these particulates in turn manipulates air masses and thus storm formations. The climate engineers have been aggressively suppressing and or redirecting Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico hurricanes for over 12 years. There's been no major hurricane impact for a record 12 years. On this point, please hear all the details I'm reporting. I didn't say there's been no hurricane impacts for 12 years. There have been no major hurricane category landfalls in the last 12 years in the U.S. Though some might conclude that cyclone suppression is good, any such intervention with Earth's life support and cooling systems is an extremely detrimental practice in regard to the life support systems of the planet as a whole. Our rapidly warming oceans are trying to spawn cyclones, but the weather makers have long since achieved the ability to decide what develops, what doesn't, and what direction it travels. And who gave the military-industrial complex the right to play God with Earth's climate and life support systems? This climate scenario that this image represents is extremely alarming. It's directly related to Hurricane Irma. This is the NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
This is
departure
literally from the
temperature
1st of September. This is like very recent.
Forecast map. Or more accurately, this is the scheduled weather since Raytheon, geoengineering contractor Raytheon, does all the modeling for NOAA and the National Weather Service.
It's the predicted...
This map is for September 7th through the 11th, 2017. And this map reflects one of the most shocking temperature imbalances yet recorded in the lower 48 states and reveals one of the primary agendas behind Hurricane Irma: to keep the most populated zones of the eastern U.S. cooled down by delivering abundant moisture from Hurricane Irma into the eastern U.S. This moisture will be scattered inland and utilized for chemical ice nucleation processes. These are patented processes. The center of the red zone is the
moisture. I think it's moisture percentages, but still, why is it that my point is, why is this entire center line completely different than over here? So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, above, these are above and below normal, but I think what she's trying to tell you is that there's also another, he's going to get to another slide that shows temperatures in just a second.
Right, we watched this earlier today.
Yeah. And we're experiencing extreme
It's freezing
cold.
here. We've been in sweatshirts and pants, and just yesterday, what was it
68.
yesterday? Really warm. And it was like today it had a massive drop. I'm not saying that temperature isn't prone to dropping, but
no, like it's 30 degrees above normal out west. They're having fires, and the point is that they're actually keeping the most populated areas in our country cooler, so we don't recognize all the crazy things that are happening.
The West, maybe as much as 30 degrees above normal. Record-shattering temperatures continue constantly in the West as it fries under a climate-engineered, ionosphere heater-induced dome of high pressure, the, quote, ridiculously resilient ridge, part of the overall climate engineering scenario. Some of the blue highlighted zones in the U.S. East may be as much as 30 degrees below normal. The moisture from Hurricane Harvey
where we're getting at right
was
now. We're getting
used
close
for
to
the
that.
same purpose, to keep the same predetermined zones temporarily cooled down while the planet as a whole continues to superheat. The moisture from Hurricane Irma will be used for the same. Welcome to our geoengineered world. This GISS departure from normal temperatures image documents the record of overall planetary surface warming from 2013 to 2016. The profound warming in the U.S. West and the near absence of overall warming in the eastern U.S. is further confirmation of the completely engineered and ongoing scenario just described in the previous NOAA image of extreme U.S. temperature imbalances. While the world continues to freefall into abrupt climate shift, geoengineered cooldowns with highly toxic chemical ice nucleating elements have helped the world's largest military to keep the most population-dense regions in the U.S. from feeling the full impact of what's unfolding. This is the psychological aspect of climate engineering, keeping populations confused, divided, and in many cases pacified.
So his point is that we are under climate change, and it is man-made, but it's not made by necessarily by the cars or things like that. It's called geoengineering. I like that term so much better than what everybody used to call it, just chemtrails, right? Chemtrails. I do know for a scientific fact that they have the ability to create clouds, to create rain. Russia did it to keep it sunny on a certain day. They spend like millions of dollars for parades just to keep things from raining to try to bring rain. And they're messing with things. Now, I'm not saying that they started this hurricane, but I do know that once you start the ball rolling, things get out of control. It's kind of like Antifa, right? You plant it, you put your seeds down, but then it rolls and the ball just rolls and you don't know where it's going to go. And I was talking to Patriot Gallery. I'm like, and everybody, the big question is, well, why would they do this? This is their world too. Mad scientists are mad scientists. They just do things because they can. Right. And they get obsessed with, can we do it? I mean, that's why we created the nuclear bomb.
But what do you need that for? Oh, sure. Okay. Let me but what you're saying is, why would they do it? And what we always talk about is Agenda 21. I mentioned this in my video yesterday. They have a goal. And he actually just touched on it now, to create mass chaos. You can control the people, depopulation, all of this stuff really plays into their hand. Because if you have a sound-minded person, I hate to go back to movies and stuff like that, but you guys have all seen, whenever you want to mess with somebody's mind, you mess with their physical,
environment.
Thank you. That's exactly the word that I was looking for. So you're going to constantly mess with their environment to make their minds unstable.
They also took all the guns from people in the Virgin Islands.
I think so.
And then on the same day, Oregon made an emergency thing for emergencies. They can come and confiscate your guns. There wasn't any debate. There wasn't any talking about it. They just did it.
Right.
And they use emergencies like this to take your rights away.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, Patriot Gallery, for her birthday this past year, we were at Sam's, and we never get sold on stuff, but for some reason, they went ahead and sold us on these. I'm sure a lot of you have seen them. You know what they are. But for those of you that don't, we wanted to go ahead and bring them.
They're wonderful.
What I wanted to say earlier is I may not be the sharpest tack in the drawer. I may not know the ins and outs of this stuff. But I do know that it's very simple using things like the science behind air conditioning or things like that.
Freon.
You can create snow. You can create rain. If you can do it on a small scale, it's really ignorant to think that it can't be done on a large scale. So what?
Especially when they have free money, they just print it up.
So there is a tiny little aluminum kind of coin. I don't know if you can see that on the video.
You can.
In here. And what you do is, I have no idea what's inside of here. It's probably under
a patent of some kind.
Thank you, a patent. But we're going to go ahead and all you do is snap it.
Did you see what the temperature is before?
Oh, okay. Well, the temperature right now is 85, I think.
And then
that probably has to do with my
Your
hand,
hand
too.
is...
I know. Well, how do you hold it like that? Okay.
Well, just wait now.
Down at the bottom, the heat's moving.
Well, you need to... It's like 80. So then you, as a chain reaction, I want to show you guys how this works. It goes from being like floppy to you spread it, and it's like, can they even see the chain reaction going?
A little
there?
lower. Put it a little lower.
It literally is a chain reaction, and it spreads throughout.
That all becomes a crystal like salt, like it turns into salt some kind.
Yeah. Like I said, we're not scientists.
It's grainy in there.
We may not know how it works. We just know that it works, and you can just see like a chain reaction, and then all of a sudden, it's super hot. So we'll see if we can get a temperature here, as long as it's touching. But Patriot Gallery was like, you know what? This would be a really good visual.
Well, that's why I believe it. I saw it myself with my own eyes.
Mom, let me see. Can they see that through the...
Their comments are on it.
Oh.
You can almost see it. A little closer.
What does it say? Can
you see it now?
Well, yeah, but it's to the top. What's it say up there?
Okay, well, it's like 110 right now. So we started at 80, and now it's at 110.
I think it felt a lot lower than 80 when I
It says flameless heaters work somewhat the same.
So
a bottom warmer.
It's going up to like 115 now. So anyway, this is just kind of a little, hey class, science experiment to give you an idea of
that it is possible.
That it is possible. And
it's
so
all chemistry.
She has one for like a neck here. And it's literally a chain reaction. And so to think that...
To metal, and they're putting aluminums and particles up there. And so I'm sure that it's different chemicals react to different things, and something reacts to some kind of metal.
So, like I said, we're not scientists. I'm not.
Boil it
don't
in
count
water
myself
and it
entirely,
goes back. I don't understand.
Somebody's going to get one for hunting
there,
season. It only lasts for an hour. If you're going to be out there 20 hours watching for deer.
Get a couple more. Well, there's ones that last for like 9 hours. There's little ones that last.
You use
yes, it can be reused. You just put it in boiling water.
You know, there was a Bill Cosby thing, and he did a joke on the thermos. He says
the hot things hot, and you're gonna do the punchline. Cold things cold. Now you can give the punchline.
How do it know?
How do it know?
You've done that like 3 or 4 times.
I tell the punchline. I'm so sorry. It's a good one. We've been saying it my whole life.
We've been saying it our whole life. How do it know? How do it know? So the question is, how do it know? It's hot. You boil it. It gets cool again. How do it know?
I actually have a story behind.
After boiling it, it goes back to a liquid.
Right. I have a story on this. When I was about 12 years old, I went into our local, I don't know, canoe kind of outdoorsy shop, and they were selling these, and my friend Jennifer and I were like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. The guy just said, all I gotta do is boil it in water. So I did it, and we went home, and I showed it to Leah, and I was like, this is the coolest thing.
They need to have child.
And I put it in the boiling water, and y'all know where this is going. Totally forgot about it. I'm 12, right? Forget about it. And the fire alarm is going off, and it stinks to high heaven, and we're living in a 3rd-story apartment, and I just took the pan, literally ran it to the balcony, and threw it outside. Hey, look, I saved everyone's life. The chemicals there. It's probably what's wrong with me, breathing in those chemicals from back then. So do you want to finish off this video, or do you think that's enough to
no, that's good. We're good.
All right, so somehow I lost all of the...
we're fine here.
Comments here on that, but...
We should read some comments on the geo, because we're going to move on. So give us your best geoengineering, science-y comments here.
All right, Otto says, I think the aerial spraying is twofold. Weather manipulation and turning all who ingest the particles into antennas. I agree. There you go. Let's see. InfoWars reported that in Vietnam, this geoengineering was used. Thank you, Donald.
I heard that. They, like, caused it to rain, like, 10 feet of rain or something like that.
So Peter Martin points out, and this is so very true, aluminum nanoparticles block the uptake of magnesium, causing Alzheimer's and other things.
And in plants. So they're actually, I do know this for a fact, they're actually making a genetically modified corn that is resistant to aluminum because all of our plants are dying because of the aluminum uptake. And so they're like, well, why don't we just create a corn? And so what it does is it's another way of cornering the market. Like, look, we're growing food. We have the ability to feed people, but you don't.
Patriot Gallery.
Well, I don't want to instill fear. As long as you're seeking the truth, what they do, this is a wizardry, this is illusionism, this is just a normal trick of a magician. But when you know the truth or how the trick works, it can't hurt you. So I hear all this stuff about the chemicals in the air are going to make us all radios, and we're all going to get these waves of some knowledge in us, and they're going to brainwash us and make us do things because they can get into our minds, and our minds become these radios. The truth keeps you free, and the magician can't do his trick on you anymore.
Right.
You know, that's kind of up there with Robert David Steele on Alex Jones. Did anybody see this one? Seth Rogen even pointed it out. It's kind of embarrassing. I don't know if Robert David Steele is going to be on anything again.
Actually, because I really like that guy.
He talked about the pedophile
rings on Mars.
On Mars. And so, yeah, some things, if you believe them, you should keep them to yourself.
All right, so to round off the coverage on the hurricane, we have Jose traveling behind Irma. I wish you had that trajectory that you could
calm
pull
down.
up
Everything is available online.
To show people the possible paths that it's going to take. The tropical depression 13, Leah tells me, has been given a name. I don't know what its name is. I don't know if any of you guys out there.
It's a chick.
It's a chick. You meaning it's a girl. Let's see. A lot of people are asking. Yes, it's our. We started about 40 minutes ago. I don't know how long we're going to go, but we still have work to do this evening. We have pet visits and dogs and horses to take care of. But we'll go for a little while longer. We have some more stuff to cover. You ladies may need to get the piggies some life tubes. All right, so I'm going to let you. So I think of like nuclear. I don't really ever worry about it because it's not going to happen. But, you know, we play these scenarios. We have a cistern under our front porch. And we have pigs. And I always tell Leah, I'm like, all right, so.
Now, the Hurricane Center is still busy.
Should the nuke happen? I'm going to figure out how to get my my boar, Malachi. He's probably about, what, 225?
Oh, he's a big dude.
Big dude. I'm going to get him down there, man. I'm getting all my pigs and my chickens, and we're all going to die of asphyxiation from their poo, and it'll just be bad. It's death anyway, but I'm going to do that.
I was looking for the one that had the lines.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Whose video was it on? It was on like a video, though, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
Well, that one will do.
Just
no, the other one was way better.
Lots of lines with the other one.
Well, that'll do, right?
Yeah.
That's close. Okay, can you make it bigger? No. So these are the possible trajectories, and I think since this was done, I think it's in a little bit further. They say that where the lines are the most concentrated, they've run it over and over and over again, and that's the scenario that plays out the best, the most likely. So it is possible it could just swing and boom. You know, there's several scenarios where that happens, but there's a lot more scenarios where it actually hits land.
It looks like it's going to hit Miami. That's where the biggest concentration of lineage is. Lineage, that you just made that up. Yes. All right, so now we're going to go to the fact that there was a 10 factor solar flare. Something like 9 something. Here's the thing. Every time there's a big solar flare, everyone on YouTube goes a little crazy. I wanted to bring this to you just because I think that it's neat and it's a great, they have some cool pictures. And it did, what happens after a solar flare is it hits pretty quick. And it might disrupt some, some communications. The sun started Wednesday with a bang. shooting 2 solar flares, one of which was the strongest observed since 2005. Global communications and some GPS systems were temporarily affected on the sunny side of the Earth at the time. The first flare peaked at approximately 5 a.m., and the second, a larger flare, peaked at 8:02.
You mean a.m.? You said
a.m., sorry. Thankfully, NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory watches the sun around the clock and was able to record these spectacular solar belches, as they call them. Solar flares are huge bursts of radiation released by the sun. Our atmosphere protects us from the worst effects of the resulting radiation storms, but if the flare is big enough, it can disrupt GPS satellites, certain radio frequencies, and other global communication temporarily. The first flare was classified as an X22. The X class are the most intense solar flares, with the number providing additional indications of their power. So I thought it was kind of cool, and we're going to play a little video of, there it goes.
Wow.
Little
That's
solar
crazy.
flare. Kind of cool, kind of a sciencey thing.
Right there.
Most powerful solar flare. There's
And it's Earth facing, so obviously the Earth is spherical, and so is the sun, and the Earth is, you know what I mean? So there's a possibility that a lot of these solar flares happen, they just are not coming in our direction, and what makes this one more significant is that it is.
So now we're going to move on to something a little bit,
Hang on, though.
What, no?
Go back to the fact that Fukushima happened after the last large solar flare, and I want to say it was like a 1.5 something. You guys can correct me on that. So it's possible, depending on the rotation of the Earth and whatever, that the solar flare could cause an earthquake. It could be a...
I'm not convinced.
I'm not
I think that
on the
there's
fear-mongering side. I don't think it's going to happen.
conspiracy theory there.
But I want to give you guys what we're hearing, what I'm reading, and what a lot of the people that I actually respect are saying. I'm still not convinced, even though I respect them. So they are saying the BP Earthwatch is very concerned. And if you guys watch that
But
show,
it's
then you
already
probably
been
already
through.
know that.
Like, it came in through. It's not like something that it's already done. Whatever happened is going to be, it's done.
It'll hit here Thursday or Friday.
No, it's done. It's already through.
No, it'll hit
Do
here.
you want to argue about it? That's what they just said.
Friday.
I don't, Michelle.
Leah.
We're gonna argue live on thing. It says here on, well, we'll see who's it plays out. It says the radio blackout period caused by the storm has already passed, affecting some high frequency radio and GPS communications for approximately 1 hour on the sunlit side of the Earth at the time of the event. So
I thought it was like days, and I had read that, like my mom and I were talking about it earlier, and then I read it in a comment here too. So
I think that when there comes to a lot of these things, there's some misinformation, and we have
Okay.
to weed through it
okay.
on live feeds.
Well, and that's fine. I don't mind doing that at all. Now you get to experience what we do when you guys aren't watching.
Stop, cut, redo.
No,
Just
it's
kidding.
real deal. Because here's the beauty about Resistance Chicks. We're kind of a family here. And we're not the only ones doing research. You guys found us because you're already looking
Right.
and watching the same things that we are. So, let's see. James True is the one that had said the solar flares will hit here Thursday and Friday. And I had heard the same thing. So I don't know. You know what I mean? Hit Picture Gallery has something.
Well, I take this with a grain of salt. I've listened to Dana Wigginton. I believe him. He's on his own. He's like a lonely person. He's out there by himself. But when it comes to these sunspots and stuff, I take it like 33% maybe, because it's a lot of NASA, a lot of government. The information comes to NASA, the information comes to the government. So I don't put a lot of stock in it because it's brand new. These sun stuff, it's like brand new. And
Right.
so if people aren't buying global warming, well, let's get them to buy sunspots.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
And so this is for the skeptics, and they got all scientific proof. So I take it like 33%.
Yeah, I'm not convinced the solar flares are doing anything to us right now. I think we have much more pressing problems that are affecting us.
I agree.
So, moving on to our next subject that has really kind of fried my brain is the whole DACA thing. It's the deferred action for immigrants, illegal immigrants. I have listened to Tucker Carlson interview people. My brain is fried. Listening to people say over and over again, it doesn't matter what the law says. These people are children. They were children when they came here. You can't punish them for the sins of their parents.
Wow.
And now we are in the great state of Ohio, and our governor has offered sanctuary to DACA recipients, the whole entire state. Governor John Kasich urged DACA recipients and other immigrants on Wednesday to come to Ohio, telling CBS this morning that the so-called dreamers should go to his state if they want to go somewhere and live. We're putting young kids in jeopardy. This is not the America that we all love. This is a melting pot. If the dreamers want to go somewhere and live, come to Ohio. We want all the immigrants to come to Ohio. Really? Did we vote? Did we vote on this?
Vote on that.
How do you know? How do you know? Ohio went for Trump. And this was one of the issues, okay? And this is probably one of the main reasons you ain't president, sir. We know how much immigrants contribute. Trump actually won Ohio. La, 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 la. Kasich also said Congress should take Congress like 6 hours to pass a legislative fix to protect DACA recipients. What I'm a little bit upset about with Trump is that he played his cards a little bit too soon. Jared Ivanka, they want DACA to stay. And Trump had the ability to use this as a leveraging arm for things like his border wall and for tougher immigration enforcement. Remember when President Reagan passed an amnesty and he said, one-time deal, and they're not going to get aid and all this money and stuff? Well, he opened that up. And then when Obama passed this, then everybody flooded up even more because they're like, well, if I can just get my kids there,
right,
then we're all going to stay.
Right.
This is great, right? And we have talked about this over and over again, that there's such a bigger picture here with NAFTA. We can't be cold-hearted, but they're forcing us to seem cruel, to seem like we don't want immigrants, to seem like we're racist, when literally the landscape and the face of all work has changed. And I will say this over and over and over again. We are not racist. Those who want the illegal immigrants here are slave owners. They would, and Michelle said this, what did you say? How did you say it?
Well, that was when we were talking about China.
Oh, okay. Well,
we'll
still,
save that one for China.
Okay, but still, those who want the illegal immigrants here would have sided with the South and allowed for slavery to continue.
They want their cheap strawberries. They want the cheap labor. They want somebody to do the
reason
jobs that they don't want to do.
Why the big CEOs in America want the cheap labor, because if they're going to look like the good guy and keep their businesses here in America, they still need cheap labor, cheaper labor, right? You can send your business to the Philippines or Taiwan or Vietnam or China, and you can get cheap labor over there. But a lot of companies want to make themselves look good like they're in America, so they use cheap labor here, and we've talked about it before. Whether you're Dannon Yoplait yogurt and you need cheap strawberries, a lot of these legal immigrants are in the food industry, so that our food is kept artificially low. The prices are kept artificially low, and farmers don't really farm themselves anymore. It's all big giant corporations that pretty much own all these farmers, from Tyson Chicken to Jolly Green Giant and the green beans.
Absolutely. So here's something that those of you that don't understand the mindset of a socialist may have asked yourself the same questions that I have asked myself about the line of thinking and it goes really deep. They want, it's not just socialism, it's communism. They want everybody to have like a set stipend of money, where if they don't want to work, if somebody doesn't want to work, they shouldn't have to work.
Hawaii is proposing that right now.
They really believe that mindset, and me as a sound-minded person, I question. I'm like, okay, well, I can go with you that far, sort of, to try to understand what you're saying. But where do the goods and the services come from? Houses don't just build themselves. We don't have automation right now. We don't have robots that can do it. I really want to know what the answer is, and the answer can't just be, well, it'll be the people that choose to work or want to work, because we know that doesn't fly. The answer is socialism can only exist in a slave labor type scenario. And that is why these people want these slave labor workers flooding into the United States. It's not because they have this, Heart for the Dreamers Act and all that stuff. That's not at all what it is. They realize that they can't have their social programs unless they bring slaves up to do the jobs that make it so that the big masterminds can sit around and do nothing while everybody else does the work.
And for somebody coming up from Mexico, their standard of living is going to be higher here, and they're going to be able to send U.S. dollars back down. It's like if I could go up to Canada and make, 100 times what I'm making right now.
Right.
And I have dirt, I'm living on a dirt floor with nothing. It's just insane the way this whole system is working. The answer is to get rid of NAFTA, stop sending cheap U.S. corn down into Mexico, allow the Mexican farmers to start farming again, to make Mexico great again. Why come here? Can every single Mexican come here? Why, if the dream is to come to America, right? Mm-hmm. Then it's cruel to leave everyone else in South America, isn't it?
Yes.
It's cruel. It's like the lottery for the island or something.
It is. It's awful. Hang on. Let me go ahead. And then I'm going to get to the comments.
No, it's just cruel to think that why can't we make the South America great again?
Okay, so somebody had asked the question, then why don't Republicans want to raise the minimum wage? That's a totally different subject, but I can give an answer to why the Republicans don't want to raise the minimum wage.
Minimum wage does work.
The minimum wage does not work, but raising the minimum wage is kind of the last sign of inflation that we see. Every time another inflation happens, we see it when the minimum wage is raised. And so the dollar is completely devalued, and we think, well, people just need to be, and you know what, you're right. Actually, as far as inflation, if inflation is going to keep existing, people need to be paid more. But then it's a circular reasoning.
So what happens is
they raise the minimum wage, and then more inflation comes. And
you raise the minimum wage. Everyone says $15 minimum wage. What literally happens is you take your cup that has Coke in it, and when you raise the minimum wage... My cup doesn't have
Coke in it, it has kombucha.
When you raise the minimum wage, all you're doing is putting more water. You're only watering down the other dollars.
Exactly.
So that everyone else's dollar is worth less.
Right.
So the people in retirement, their dollar's worth less.